Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to take a look at all the books I read in October and September. I didn't read as many as normal, so I thought I would just like smush them together, so let's jump into it. Right, so in no particular order, I've just got my physical books next to me, so let's start with those and then we'll go into and audiobooks. So let's just start with the two books I managed to kick off my TBR that's been on there the longest, and I finally completed all of my owned Philip Gregory books, which I'm quite proud of. I listened to these on audiobook as well as physically read them, so I did that together. The first one was Three Sisters, Three Queens. This is from the perspective of Margaret, who is Henry's sister, and we see her relationship with her other sister, Mary, and Catherine of Aragon, and we just follow their kind of entangled life and what happens to them both. Yeah, it was good. I actually really did enjoy this. I think it's a 4-star for me. Definitely a 4-star. I really liked hearing from Margaret, watching her like grow up, I guess is how I would describe that, and like seeing her relationships between the sisters. And then the next one was The Last Tudor, and this is about Lady Jane Grey, who became queen for a very short period of time, but not really. It's about that. You see the consequences of it, and then you see what happens to her siblings in the aftermath. We follow, and my dog is on a mission. I don't know what he's doing. He's just running around. And we follow Catherine and Mary and their situations, which were tragic and heartbreaking, and just this poor family. Anyway, I realise these aren't historically accurate. They're just fun. I say that every time because I know some people have very strong feelings about Philip Gregory. I read them for purely entertainment factors only, and I gave this one 4 stars as well. I think these might be some of my favourites. Looking back on my whole collection, I definitely did enjoy these more so than some of the other ones I read this year. Continuing with authors I've read a lot of this year, I finally finished or caught up, I don't know if there's going to be any more, the Kingsbridge trilogy. Is that what we... So in this we basically see the evolution, the start of Kingsbridge, and we learn why it's named Kingsbridge, and we follow a young boat builder who has, you know, went through something very tragic. We follow a Norman noblewoman who gets married and has to move across the world basically at that time, to a new foreign land, and we follow a monk and their stories intertwine. It was good. I don't know how to rate this. I think it's definitely a 4 stars. Like, nothing has gave me the vibe, well, not the vibes, but the feeling of Pillars of the Earth. That is one of my favourite books of all time. This one was good. I did really enjoy the story that was told in here. His character work is still chef's kiss, amazing. But it might be my least favourite one, if not my third. Maybe I will do like a ranking video, but it was good. I'm glad I read it. I really want there to be more. Maybe I should just accept I really love the series. It was good. It was really good. It was heartbreaking. I can't tell you much, A, because I feel like spoilers, and B, it's such like, there's so many things that happen in here, and it just, he just does such a good job at character development, and I'm so happy I read this. I would love to read more books set in this time period, whether fantasy or true historical fiction, I don't care. So if you know any books about like the Saxons, even like, not necessarily the Saxons, but just things set in Europe, 1900 kind of Saxon area, post-Roman, that would be good. So yeah, really enjoyed it. It was very good. I'm happy to like stack it up with all of these. I think I should say that they're like 5 stars. I really do like them. What? They're good. Anyway, yeah, that's enough of me ranting about this. Next, we have A Skin Full of Shadows by Frances Harding. I will be honest, I went to a charity shop and saw this and was like, need, because of the cover mainly, like look at how it's such a beautiful cover. I didn't realise going into this was YA, but it was still just as good. So in this we follow Makepeace, and Makepeace has learned that she has to keep the bad things out. She has to keep the ghosts out of her head. But one day she has a really bad day and she's distracted, and in that few momentary distracting minutes she is possessed by an angry spirit, which she now carries inside her. She is then sent to live with her father's cruel and horrible family. And then she has to deal with the country and her family's influence during the Civil War. And at the end, she basically has to choose, like, what is she fighting for? What is happening? What are they doing? And I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 stars. It was such a wild ride. I really did enjoy it. I loved the storytelling. I definitely will be picking up more from Frances Harding. It was just magical. It was lyrical. Oh, I love these type of historical fantasies. They're scratching something for me. It was so good. Highly recommend. The next book is 9 Perfect Strangers by Leanne Moriarty. This is about a group of people who all go to this wellness retreat to deal with the several issues that they have, to try to resolve them. It's really good. It was just funny. I enjoyed reading this. Like, it was sad at times. It had me on a roller coaster of emotions, but it also had me giggling like mad. I was listening to the audiobook of this and I was taking my dog for a walk and I was laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. It's good. I recommend it. I'm not vibing with the Netflix show as much. I find it a lot slower than the actual book. But yeah, this 5 stars, guys. It was very good. I enjoyed this so much, and it's definitely one I'll be adding to the reread pile just because of the character work in here. Then we have one that I was slightly disappointed by, and maybe I need to read it again and I'll like it more, and it could just be that I had different expectations going into this, and that is Little Eyes by Samantha Schweblin. And this is about a world that has these little tiny cute little fuzzy creatures that have cameras in them, and you can either be a keeper or a watcher. The watchers live inside these creatures via their computer screen. They don't talk, they just watch. And the keepers are the people who keep these things like pets, basically. And I say it's disappointing because I thought it was going to be more twisty, but it still was very Black Mirror-y. It has that kind of vibe to it. I wanted more. I thought it was going to be more horror, and it wasn't. It was just like, here's this weird world with these weird things. What impact does it have on these people? And in that regard, it was very well done. If you're looking for something that has like that true Black Mirror vibe, definitely read this. If you liked The Test by Sylvia Nouvel, read this. And I'm gonna give it 4 stars because it still was like an excellent character study of I say character study, I use that word way too much. I'm still giving this 4 stars. It was very well done for what it was. I just thought it was gonna be more scary than what it actually was. But you know, I love Black Mirror. I love Black Mirror episodes like this, and this was that. This scratched my Black Mirror itch, because when are we getting another season? Let's start with this one because I am on my Stephen King journey and I picked up Needful Things. This is about a man named Leland Gaunt who is new to town, the town of Castle Rock, and he decides to set up shop. His shop is a special shop because it has everything you could possibly need, but it has that one thing you desire and you would do anything for, and he may or may not take advantage of that. I loved this book. I listened to the audiobook, which was narrated by Stephen King himself. I think it was so good. This is definitely a 5-star read. I cannot stop thinking about this book. Same with The Stand. Like, in all honesty, I probably should have given The Stand 5 stars. Yeah, This, it was so good. Like, Stephen King writes bad people well. He writes morally grey people well, and he writes like people who are like, ugh. But then you understand them, and it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have been going, ugh, because I understand them. Hands down, I love this. I adored this book. It was very, very good, and I'm so happy I have this copy because it just like sums up everything perfectly. Like, it was sad. Oh, it made me cry. It made me angry. Yeah. So it was very good. I do enjoy it. And yeah, this is like one of my new favorite books. And it's a King. And then you guys will be seeing a reading vlog for this at some point. But I read Dune. I read Dune and I didn't hate it. If you saw my video last year where I said I was going to be reading some of my husband's favourite books and he gave me a list, this was on there. And I read the description then, and the worms, just... Yep, see, I hate worms. I hate them, which is docked off a point for this because they play a slightly big part. There was a bit in this that made me feel physically sick because of the worms, but other than that, it was good. I really did enjoy this. I gave this 4 stars. And if you are unsure of what Dune is about, it is about a young boy named Paul who is living on the really not great place of Arrakis. It's not really a nice, hospitable place to live, but they live there so they can control the spice. And controlling the spice means that you've got a lot of like power to knock around, and yet something tragic happens to Paul's family as they are trying to take control over Arrakis. Paul's dad is murdered by the family that used to have control over it, and we see this war play out, and it hits you in the feels. It was very well written. I enjoyed like the sci-fi elements of this, the fantasy elements of this. It did things for me. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I had to take a point off with the worms because no. Yeah, so I don't know if I'll continue with the series because I think there's like big time jumps, like thousands of years between each book, and to me this felt like a complete story, and I'm happy to leave it where it is. So I read 6 e/audiobooks. Let's look at the first ebook I read, and that was Madam. And in this we are following our main character Rose as she is going to teach at an illustrious all-girls boarding school in Scotland, in like the middle of nowhere Scotland, and all is not what it seems. There are some really sketchy things happening, very secretive things happening, and we follow Rose on this journey as she discovers that what's happening at the school may not necessarily be all that great. This I thought had lots of potential, but it did let me down a bit. It wasn't very fast paced. I found it a bit, I don't know, something just didn't work for me. The idea was great, the plot was great, the characters were great, but for whatever reason I felt myself being a bit bored. Thinking about it a couple months later, I can remember what happens if I like really think, but in all honesty it feels a bit unmemorable, forgettable, and the actual synopsis gives away way too much. Do not read the Goodreads synopsis, because it basically like just gives away the whole entire thing. Just go into it knowing it's a weird boarding school and not everything's like it seems, and yeah, I thought I just needed something more. I gave this 3 stars. It just felt a bit okay. And then I read Twisted Love, and in this we follow our main characters Alex and Ava. Alex is the strong, sullen, brooding, can't love anyone type, and Ava is Miss Sunshine, happy, and we watch them interact and may or may not fall in love. This was a good time. It was so fun. I read this really quickly. Yeah, I gave this 3 stars. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't one of my favorites. It was definitely a bit far-fetched, which I'm not saying my romance needs to be like nail on the head every time. It just felt like there was too many things that was like, oh, but this. good. It was twisty. I did like it. It was fun. But yeah, just 3 stars. But read it if you want a good time, if you want like enemies-ish to lovers, if you want like best friend, brother's best friend, dating brother's sister kind of vibe. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it, but it was a bit over the top, which I think is what made it a good time. Then I finally listened to Tesseract, and oh my god, she's amazing. The first one I read was The Duchess Deal, and this is about a seamstress who doesn't get paid because the Duke's wedding gets called off, and she marches in there and she's like, pay me, and the Duke's like, no, marry me. And we follow their story from there. It is very much marriage of convenience, historical setting, steamy times, like lots of laughing. This was so good. I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 stars. Then I read The Governor's Game. This is a 5-star book. This was just amazing. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And we're following Alexandra as she just lost her only way of providing for herself, and she turns up and takes a job as a governess. And so yeah, Alexandra comes in and romance ensues. This was so good. Those 2 little girls, oh my goodness. Oh, they made me laugh. Like literally, I was crocheting up a storm and I was sitting in my in-laws lounge listening and just laughing at these 2 girls. This is a 5-star read. They're some of my favourite characters. I thoroughly enjoyed this. And then of course, off the heels of this, I had to like finish all the books that were out, and I read the Warfowl Wager, and this again, marriage of convenience. Lady Penelope is living in London with her menagerie of animals, and yet she is, you know, put on a timeline that she's got to get her act together and be more sociable, or she's out of there. And Gabriel is just trying to sell the house. So, and in order to sell the house, the animals have to, so they end up working together to find homes for the pets, and it was really good. I gave this 4 stars just because I enjoyed the previous one so much more. But again, these were such fun, and I can't wait for the 4th one to come out. The last audiobook I read was Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab. This is following the Cassidy Blake series. Cassidy Blake is a girl who almost died and can now see ghosts, and her parents are like famous ghost hunters. This was so good. The first one is set in Scotland, the second one's set in France, and this one was set in New Orleans. This was such a fun ride, and we follow Cassidy as she deals with the ghosts and mayhem that is New Orleans. And it was so good. I really enjoy these series. I just, they warm me, and they're perfect to read in October. Yeah, so that was definitely a highlight read. They're so good. If you're looking for like a quick middle grade, make you feel good but also spooked out, highly recommend. Right guys, and that's it. That's all the books I've read in September and October. It was a slow 2 reading months, mainly because I was working and didn't have as much time as I normally do to like read books. Plus we had people here and I was enjoying spending time with my family while they were visiting. And then I managed to listen to a lot of audiobooks, finishing a birthday present for one of my best friends. But yeah, so fingers crossed November goes a bit more like up the pace, just because like I have been missing reading, and I'm looking at my TBR stack, which is slowly dwindling, and I'm quite proud of myself. I'm pat on the back, but I know that I'll be wanting to do more book shopping soon, so let's see how small I can get that. Anyway, what was your favourite read of October? Did you read anything super scary, or your new favourite book of all time? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you next time. Bye guys!